Line checks, sim assessments, upgrade rides. For most pilots, these are stressful times, but for some, these are a source of concern and apprehension that can hold people back in their flying careers. So in this video, I'm going to touch on how to deal with these things and show up physically and mentally to maximize your chance of success in your next check ride. When I first started my flying career back in 2005, geez, that is 20 years ago, I used to be a young pilot. Performing for a check ride was all about preparation, study, and hard work. But in the time since, and now in 2025, society and flight training in general is much more accepting of the fact that we need to psychologically prepare ourselves to turn up and perform on the day. So in this, my second video on confidence, we're going to delve into just that, into 3 areas you can use to improve your game in preparing for a check event or a stressful flight, and how you can get your mindset and your body ready for that assessment. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll also share a technique you can use to physically lower the tension and the stress in your body immediately before stepping into the cockpit. It's something I've used many times in my C-17 flying days. If you're new here, I'm Matthew Dank. I'm a former Australian Navy and Air Force pilot. I spent my career flying Seahawk helicopters with Navy and C-17 heavy jets with Air Force. I also spent a period flying the 737 MAX 8 with an Australian airline. And this video channel is all about performance and mental fitness for pilots. Do me a favor, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me know what matters to you and helps me to know that I'm delivering the right stuff. The first thing I'm going to talk about is intentionality. Now, leading up to an important flight test or an important flight in difficult weather or another challenging circumstance, it's easy to focus on the gravity of the task at hand, easy to focus on the technical aspects of preparing for and carrying out that flight. It's easy to entirely overlook our physical and mental state when going into that event. So intentionality is all about setting aside a little bit of time after we've done our preparation and aside from the technical aspects of that flight at hand, just to focus on how I want to feel, how I want to present myself, how I want to be thinking when I turn up for that event. One of the biggest areas you've probably heard of from positive psychology that's a big benefit for intentionality is gratitude and bringing positive feeling to the event. Scientific studies have shown that when we use a gratitude practice to put ourselves in a positive mindset and actually feel gratitude about where we're currently at, it's difficult for thoughts of negative aspects and negative things to get in the way of our performance. Now, gratitude can be a very simple practice. It can be about something we've already achieved in our life, about something we have in our career, or even the very fact that we're a pilot about to undergo a check flight and have a privilege renewed, or even have a new privilege like an instrument rating or a captain upgrade made available to us. That's something to be grateful for, and that's something that many people in our network and in society would trade anything for, just for being a pilot. Another really great way to feel gratitude and anchor our performance is to imagine and visualize ourselves having completed the event. So after the check flight, after the assessment, whatever it is, having that currency or that privilege renewed or having that new qualification under our belt, what does it feel like? To me, it feels like a sense of accomplishment, of achievement, and of satisfaction for all the work that's gone into whatever I'm preparing for. So putting ourselves in that mental state before the actual event can really help us feel positive and communicate and express that to those that we're there with, be it the instructor, other pilots, other people. And that can really help resonate and lift the overall mood, the overall performance, and lead to better team dynamic amongst everyone. The second thing I'm going to touch on is getting out of our heads and into our bodies. Now, we all know that check flights and assessment events, they're important things in our career, important things in our training pipelines, and we've spent time and energy preparing for them. But being overly focused on the outcome of the event itself and really overly inwardly focused on how we're feeling and performing can have a negative effect. It can be something that can cause us to not just feel anxiety, but latch onto that anxiety and even feel anxious about being anxious. That can lead to spirals, and it can lead to very poor performance. Tony Robbins, one of the world's foremost self-help and positive improvement gurus, has a great saying. It's quite abrupt, but his saying is, if you're in your head, you're dead. Now, he's talking, of course, about our performance, but it's very true in my experience. If we're focused inwards and we're focused on ourselves and how we're doing over and above the task at hand, then we can latch onto that and down the hill we can easily go. So a great way to get out of that cycle and get out of our heads before an event or a check flight is to set a time when we're going to stop our preparation, stop our thinking about the technical aspects of the event, and we're going to get outside. We're going to either move the body, exercise, stretch, a little bit of meditation or yoga, but just feel our body and connect with it. My favorite thing and the most meaningful thing for a lot of people I know is listening to music. You will have seen a lot of your best and favourite sports teams, arriving at the stadium on game night, headphones on, getting in the zone. They need to perform their best, and so do we. So that's a technique we can definitely leverage. My personal favourite, John Farnham, probably showing my age. I'm an 80s boy, but his song "Have a Little Faith in Us" is something that really resonated with me back in high school and footballing days, putting myself in a positive mindset and just feeling the uplifting energy of the song. When I'm in that mode, especially when I'm singing, as terrible as it might be, I can't be connected to my thoughts, I can't be in my head, because I am feeling it and I am in the body and I am present. Even better if I'm moving. I'll do this in the car on the way to work before an important event. I'll sing out loud, windows up, not to impact those around me too much, but just feeling the energy and the song itself has a massive effect, and it really beautifully tailors off what I've prepared about the technical aspects of the flight and allows me to be in the right mindset. Okay, the third point I want to touch on is about anxiety and nerves and how to deal with them. We've already talked about being intentional. We've already talked about getting out of our head and into our body. So we're looking good, but the last aspect is those nerves and that anxiety, which will often come up in a high performance or a high stakes event or training flight. So I found the further I've gone down my career, the more I'm used to and accustomed to a sense of nerves and anxiety. And that's the same for other high performers in all sorts of domains, including public speaking, including motivational coaching, and other realms. So a big thing I think we can focus on early on in our career comes from the art of mindfulness and on Eastern traditions, and that's really accepting and making space for anxiety and making space for the nerves, not wanting to push that away and exclude that or get away from the nerves and the anxiety, but just recognize that having a sense of heightenedness, having a sense of feeling the importance of the occasion is an important thing for lifting our performance, for letting us know that what we're doing is important and that it does matter. But it doesn't need to be something that hijacks everything we think and do. We can make space for it, welcome it, and let it be. And then we can take our attention to the thing that we need to be focused on, whether that's our scan technique, if we're flying an approach or manually flying the aircraft, or our control technique at another point in time, or even our mental models or our thinking or a briefing we're about to conduct. Noting that the anxiety might be there, but it's just along for the ride. It's not important, it's not central to what we're doing. Now, a really important technique for minimizing the impact of this anxiety and nerves before a flight in our preparation is visualization. Most of us know about visualization. We've practiced at some point during our training, and often we do that just to prepare the sequence or the event we're about to practice in real life or about to go through. But it's also very handy to practice things not going right, to give ourselves a situation where we can deal with a sense of unease and a sense of things going slightly off kilter, and then having that being normalized, and then having to get the aircraft or the situation back on the rails. This has got two benefits really. One is that we can go through the mental process of practicing not just the perfect approach, but divergences from that approach, departure, maneuver, whatever it is we're flying. And we can also practice the feeling of having things get slightly out of control and slightly out of kilter. Now, a great way to do this might be thinking about a departure procedure or store recovery or a approach procedure where there's a problem. Maybe on approach there's an engine malfunction, and we carry out the actions for that malfunction and make a small mistake and things get slightly worse. We need to recognize that and then get the situation back under control. And if we're really visualizing that well, in a lot of detail, we'll have a lot of the experience in our nervous system that we would have had we been in the aircraft for the real event. My favorite time and the most vivid time for visualizing is within about an hour or two after completing a flight. We've been primed and we've been in a situation of stimulus, and we're really in a good position to have a really highly detailed visualization session and get the most out of that. Okay, the last thing I want to share is something you can use to lower your tension and nerves leading up to an important flight or event, and that's something called progressive muscle relaxation. Okay, what is it? So, progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR, is a scientifically backed technique to find a muscle group in our body and increase the tension across that muscle chain for a short period, and then hold that and then release it over a slower and longer period. This has a calming effect and will release some of the tension and arousal in our nervous system. And if done successively on a few different muscle groups or even the same muscle group, it can overall lower the sense of arousal and stress. So let's go through a quick example of how it might work. I'll go through an example here just using my biceps and my arms. So I'm going to squeeze over 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold in tension those biceps. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to release over 15 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And just that exercise there has got me feeling calmer, more collected, a bit less tense, a bit less engaged. So this is something I would use even in the C-17 when I'm sitting in crew rest, so not in a control seat, but on the back of the cockpit, leading up to arrival into a very busy or difficult airport. It's something I'd use before getting on the headset in the seat and doing my brief, just to lower the tension and the nerves that I'm feeling. I found it really successful. I've used it at the time throughout my legs and lower body. It's something we can do without a lot of people noticing, and a really handy tool and technique when you can't necessarily meditate or use other things at the time. This is a great tip and tool. Okay, that's the end of the video for today. We've talked about a few key tools and tips you can use to show up to perform your best for a flight training event or a simulator check. So my last video was about the preparation and the rehearsal piece, how they bring confidence. This piece is about how to show up our best to bring confidence to our performance, and together I think they really encapsulate some great tips that you can use in improving your performance for your next flight or assessment. I hope this has been really valuable for you. I hope you found some great insights in it. If it has, please feel free to share. Also comment below. I really learn a lot from your comments. I'd love to hear about what you think, if there's any tools here you've been able to implement or apply to your own flying or life in other areas. And thank you for watching. We'll see you soon in another video.